It was one of those golden California mornings where everything looked too perfect. The trimmed hedges, the shining mailboxes, the faint sound of sprinklers misting the lawns. In the small, HOA-governed neighborhood of Maple Grove Estates, perfection wasn't just encouraged, it was enforced. And nobody enforced it harder than Karen Miller, the self-appointed guardian of the HOA rules. Blonde hair perfectly set, clipboard in hand, Karen patrolled the streets like a suburban sheriff. Every mailbox, every fence, every trash can had to meet community standards. That's when she noticed it, a silver Toyota Camry parked just a few inches off the designated driveway line, in front of the newly sold house at 112 Oak Ridge Lane. Karen narrowed her eyes. Not on my watch. She took a photo, wrote a note, and slipped it under the windshield. HOA violation, illegal parking. Fine, $200. She felt a spark of satisfaction. Another rule enforced. Another bit of order restored. What Karen didn't know was that the car belonged to Dr. Ethan Reyes, a young ER physician who had just moved in the night before after finishing a 12-hour hospital shift. He hadn't even unpacked his kitchen boxes yet. The next morning, Ethan stepped out in scrubs, holding his travel mug of coffee, and found the fine notice fluttering under his wiper. He frowned, rubbing his temples. Seriously, he muttered. I parked 6 inches wrong and get fined $200. Karen appeared out of nowhere, as if summoned by indignation itself. Excuse me, are you the owner of this vehicle? Ethan turned. Yeah, that's me. Is there a problem? There is, Karen said, arms crossed. You violated Section 8C of the parking code. This neighborhood has standards. You can't just park wherever you like. Ethan exhaled, trying to stay calm. Ma'am, I'm sorry. I just moved in last night after a long shift at County General. I didn't realize. Excuses don't change the rules, she interrupted sharply. I suggest you read the HOA handbook. I can drop off a copy if you need tutoring. Ethan's jaw tightened. He forced a polite smile. That won't be necessary. Have a good day. He walked back inside, muttering under his breath, unbelievable. Karen, feeling triumphant, jotted something on her clipboard. Another win for Maple Grove. But across the street, Ellen, a kind elderly neighbor, watched the exchange from her porch. She shook her head. That woman's gonna pick the wrong fight one day, she whispered. By evening, Ethan returned from the hospital again, exhausted. As he parked, perfectly this time, he glanced at Karen's house, where the glow of her living room lamp flickered through the blinds. He shook his head, sighed, and went inside. He had no idea that by tomorrow, he'd be breaking into that same house, not to argue, but to save her life. The next morning dawned with a heavy gray sky, unusual for Maple Grove, where sunshine was practically the HOA's brand. Karen was up early as always, reviewing the community forum on her tablet, sipping her low-fat latte. A new message thread caught her eye. Subject, ridiculous fine. Posted by Dre, Reyes 112. Just moved in last night after working a double shift in the ER. Got fined $200 for parking wrong. Didn't know I moved into a dictatorship. Karen's jaw tightened. Oh no, you didn't, she whispered. Within minutes, she was typing back furiously. Dr. Reyes, our rules exist for a reason. If you can't respect them, perhaps this isn't the right neighborhood for you. She hit send with a sense of righteousness. By noon, a small digital war had erupted. Other residents chimed in, some siding with the doctor, others backing Karen. Ellen, from across the street, wrote, Karen, he's a doctor. He saves lives. Maybe give him a break. Karen shot back. Saving lives doesn't give anyone the right to break community rules. She didn't notice her hands trembling. That afternoon, as clouds thickened, thunder rolled in the distance. Karen went outside to pull in her trash bins, muttering about the rudeness of people these days. Suddenly, she felt a sharp pain shoot through her chest. It was brief, just a stabbing jolt, but enough to make her pause. She steadied herself on the mailbox, breathing heavily. Probably just heartburn, she told herself. Too much coffee. Across the street, Dr. Reyes was unloading his car when he noticed her. You okay, ma'am? He called out. Karen straightened immediately, forcing a smile. I'm fine, thank you. Just a little tired. He nodded politely and went inside. But as the evening came, the pain returned, sharper this time, radiating to her jaw. She sat on her couch, trying to breathe through it. Her tablet buzzed again with HOA notifications. Ellen. Karen, You feeling okay? You didn't look great earlier. Karen, I'm fine. Just stress. People need to follow rules. That's all. She pressed send, but her hand slipped. Her vision blurred. The room tilted. Outside, the rain began to pour, drumming hard against the windows. From across the street, Ethan looked out and saw that Karen's living room light was still on, flickering strangely. Something felt off. He hesitated. Part of him wanted to ignore it. After all, she had humiliated him just yesterday. But the doctor in him couldn't. He threw on his jacket and sprinted through the rain. When he reached her front porch, he could see her through the window, collapsed on the couch, motionless. Karen, he shouted, pounding the door. Karen, can you hear me? No answer. Ethan didn't think twice. He kicked the door open. The front door slammed open with a crack as thunder roared overhead. Rain pounded through the doorway, soaking the doormat, but Ethan didn't care. He rushed inside, scanning the room, and there she was. Karen lay slumped on the couch, her face pale and her lips faintly blue. The tablet had slipped from her hand, the HOA website still glowing on the screen. Karen, hey, can you hear me? Ethan shouted, dropping to his knees beside her. No response, only shallow, erratic breaths. He pressed 2 fingers to her neck. Weak pulse. He felt his stomach twist. Not good, he muttered. Years of emergency medicine training kicked in like instinct. He tilted her head back, checked her airway, and called out, Hey Siri, call 911. The AI voice replied instantly, calling 911. 911, what's your emergency? This is Dr. Ethan Reyes. I have a middle-aged female, possibly mid-50s, unresponsive, shallow breathing, possible cardiac event. I'm at 110 Maple Grove Lane. I need EMS immediately. He hung up, tore open her blouse enough to place his stethoscope against her chest. Faint, irregular heartbeat. Stay with me. Karen, he whispered, already positioning his hands over her sternum. You're not going anywhere today. He began chest compressions, steady, rhythmic, strong. The sound of his palms pressing down filled the room like a metronome against the storm outside. Come on, Karen. Breathe. 30 compressions. 2 breaths. Nothing. Don't you quit on me. He kept going, sweat mixing with rain, his voice breaking through the tension. You gave me a fine for 6 inches of parking, remember? You don't get to fine me for this. Thunder rumbled again as a faint cough escaped her throat. Her fingers twitched. Ethan froze, leaning close. That's it, come back. Her eyelids fluttered open slightly. Confusion swirled in her eyes. What's happening? You're having a heart attack, Ethan said gently. But you're going to be okay. Help's on the way. Tears mixed with rain on his face as sirens began wailing in the distance. That familiar sound of salvation. The paramedics burst in moments later, their flashlights sweeping across the room. Dr. Reyes? One of them asked, recognizing him. Yeah. She went down about 4 minutes ago. I got a pulse back. They moved in sync. 4 lines, oxygen mask, defibrillator pads. Ethan stepped back, soaked and trembling, watching the organized chaos unfold. Within minutes, Karen was stabilized and being lifted onto a stretcher. Her eyes found him again as they wheeled her out. Her voice was faint, almost swallowed by the rain. You saved me. Ethan nodded softly. It's what I do. As the ambulance doors closed, he stood in the rain, staring at the flashing red lights fading into the storm. The woman who had fined him for breaking a rule had just broken his heart a little, too, in a way he didn't expect. Karen awoke to the soft beeping of monitors and the sterile glow of hospital lights. For a long moment, she didn't know where she was. The world felt distant, muffled voices, the faint hum of machines, the smell of antiseptic. Then she saw him. Dr. Ethan Reyes stood quietly at the foot of her bed, wearing fresh scrubs this time. His hair was still damp from the rain, and dark circles framed his eyes. But when she looked at him, she saw something she'd never seen before. Calm compassion, not annoyance. Good morning, Mrs. Miller, he said softly. You gave us quite a scare. Her lips trembled. What happened? You had a heart attack, he replied gently. Your arteries were partially blocked. We got to you just in time. She swallowed hard, eyes filling with tears. You saved me? He nodded. Yeah, lucky for you. Your doctor lives across the street. For the first time, Karen didn't have a clever retort or a rulebook to hide behind. Just silence, the heavy, humbling kind. She looked down at her trembling hands. I was awful to you, she whispered. I find you. I embarrassed you in front of the neighborhood. Ethan smiled faintly. You were just doing what you thought was right. No, she said, shaking her head, tears slipping free. I was doing what made me feel right. There's a difference. He pulled up a chair beside her bed and sat quietly. You know, he said after a pause, I almost didn't come over. I saw your light flickering, thought maybe it was nothing. But something told me to check anyway. Karen smiled weakly. Maybe that was the universe, giving me a second chance to be a better neighbor. The days that followed changed Maple Grove Estates. Karen returned home after a week in recovery. Slower now, softer somehow. The clipboard was gone. The rules? Still there, but the tone had shifted. She waved to people instead of scolding them. She even brought cookies to Ellen's porch. And one morning, a silver Toyota Camry parked slightly over the line again, just a few inches. Karen walked out, stood for a moment, then smiled. She reached for her phone, not to take a picture, but to send a text. Karen, hey, Dr. Reyes. Coffee. I owe you at least a few hundred cups. Ethan, only if you promise not to fine me for being 5 minutes late. When they met later that day at the small cafe near the hospital, something had changed, not just between them, but in the air around them. Karen had learned that not every rule keeps a community alive. Sometimes, it's the people who do. As they laughed over coffee, the sunlight returned to Maple Grove, warm, forgiving, and real. And for the first time, the neighborhood felt like home.